leading is about making the right decisions. And always I am challenged because when I make right decisions, people always tell me, you have to think about your re-election. And I keep reminding them that I was not elected to be re-elected. I was elected to transform the country.
Okay, let me ask you this.
I remember when I speak in some fora, and people come and whisper to me, don't say too much because you see, these people might get annoyed with you, and I'm asking myself, it's not in my place to say what people want to hear or what is popular. It is my position to say what is right. And what is right is not necessarily popular.
Yes.
And it is the conversation.
That's very.
It is the conversation we are having in Kenya. When I came into office, I told the people of Kenya, our savings as a percentage of GDP is around 10-11%. Other countries are in the region of 40, 50. China is at 55% percentage of saving. We were saving 200 shillings every month, every Kenyan, in our National Social Security Fund. I said we must change this. We changed it. Now every Kenyan pays 6% of their salary. Their employer pays 6% of an equivalent into our savings. And I promise you, what is happening now is that our Social Security Fund, which is about 320 billion Kenya shillings now, we are going to double it, and we have saved that 320 in 60 years. But we are going to double it in 4 years because of the decision we have made. We agreed with the people of Kenya that housing is a problem. We have 7 million Kenyans living in slums, without water, without electricity, without anything. And I said, we must have a paradigm shift. Everybody agrees that we need to invest in housing. In fact, let me tell you this. Both the manifesto of the party I lead and the manifesto of my challenger, both of them had housing. But when it came to implementation, the uproar was unbelievable. But I said, people, we had this in our manifestos, we're going to implement. Let me tell you the good news. We have now 120,000 housing units under construction in Kenya. It is my intention to get 1 million Kenyans homeowners in the next 5 years. That is a function of decision making. That's a function of leadership. My brother Paul Kagame has done a wonderful job on the reform of the AU. He handed over his notes to me. I intend not to let down my brother. This AU, we are going to reform it. And we are going to make AU a fit-for-purpose organization so that we can sort out the things Ali Dangote is talking about, so that we can have clarity in where we want to go. We can get the Africa Continental Free Trade Area moving and being a reality so that our business people can trade across this continent, so that we can move across this continent. President Kagame has removed visa for people coming to Rwanda. I have done the same. You pay ATA only $30 and you pay it online. You don't have to go to no office. So this is the situation we are faced with, and I want to say that we are going to change our continent ourselves, not others. The best partner for us is the one that accepts to have a deal that is a win-win. We must continuously, in whatever engagement, we must keep our interests at the center of our focus. If we sign a bad deal, we must not finger point. It is up to us to make sure that we don't sign bad deals for our people. You know, and I agree with President Kagame, this mentality of victimhood, that you make a mistake and then you want to blame somebody else. It's not right. I mean, we must say no if the answer is no. And we must be firm to say this cannot continue. In fact, that is the conversation we are currently having. We are telling our friends, our development partners, the architecture that exists, the financial architecture that exists is faulty. It is unfair. It is not right. It must be changed. When we started that conversation, it looked weird. Today, they have come to the table accepting what they did not believe in the past. Today, they agree with us that the current international financial architecture is faulty, it is unfair, it must be fixed. It is one of the conversations I'll be having with President Biden. Because the US has a lot of say on the current international financial architecture. And we are saying we are not making a policy for a moment. We want to have a conversation as a continent. And for your information, if you have followed my language, yes, it's about Kenya. But it's in the context of us being Africans. And it's a context of Africa. We will be having conversation about the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act, the AGOA, that gives us duty-free, quota-free access to the American market with our goods. That is one of the conversations I'm going to have with the Congress for the extension of AGOA so that we can leverage on that agreement to be able to create jobs in our continent, add value to our products, and have access to the American market. Among the conversations we're going to have is about peace, security, and stability. We have seen the US, we have seen Europe spend billions in Gaza, billions in Ukraine. Have you seen billions in Africa?
No, I have not.
So this is the conversation we want to have. I mean, we have issues in Eastern DRC. We have issues in Somalia. We have issues in Sudan. We believe that a proper partnership should be structured between Africa through the AU, with the US, with the EU, on how stability matters wherever that is.
And it matters
whether it is in Africa, or it is in Gaza, or it is in Ukraine, it is about people. And there are no better people than others. We're all human beings. You know? It is, for example, the reason why Kenya is going to participate in securing Haiti, because we are a responsible global citizen. Kenya has participated in peacekeeping for the last 40 years. We have been in 49 countries, just like Rwanda have. And therefore, when called upon to support humanity, we must show up. And so does others need to show up where we are concerned. We are struggling to get market elsewhere when we are not trading enough with ourselves. Intra-European trade is at 70%. Intra-Asian trade is at 60%. Intra-African trade is at 16%. If we make the AU a fit-for-purpose organization, and that is our intention, the notes President Kagame handed over to me says we must do 3 things, and which I intend to persuade my colleagues for us to achieve. Number 1, to use AU for our economic diplomacy, to make sure that it speaks to having a unified market in our continent, making sure that the ACFTA works, we have the same regulations, the borders that exist stop being barriers, but instead being bridges into the next country. And I say this because in EAC, intra-trade between Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, the EAC countries, is at 28%. It is the highest in the continent. It is the single highest regional economic bloc that has trade at that level. We intend to pull the rest of the continent in that direction, and it tells you that the 16% can actually get to 50% if we do things right. So this is the trajectory we are looking at. We are also looking at making sure that the AU deals with the challenges of infrastructure. You heard the president here talk about infrastructure. We must make the AU fit for purpose to focus on a few things, not too many things. Security and stability, economic, diplomacy, infrastructure, period. And then we make sure that it serves the continent well. It will give us voice, it will speak for reasonable numbers, it will help us push against unfair trade deals, because we have the numbers to say no to the EU if we are standing as Africa. But if I'm standing as Kenya or Rwanda, they can push.
Yes.
But if we are standing together, we can make sure that we push our agenda properly. Let me finalize by saying, to support our private sector, even our private sector today, they are molested by financial institutions. They are told you are investing in the wrong place. You cannot put a factory in Africa, it is risky. They are charged high interest rates. That is our responsibility. The AU must be able to fight for a fairer international financial architecture that de-risks investments in Africa and allows investors like Aliko and others who have the courage to invest in our continent to get resources at rates that make business sense for them to invest.